Hello and welcome to the season 3 finale of the PetaPixel podcast. I'm Jaron Schneider, that's Chris Nichols, that's Jordan Drake.
Hi.
And
I'm sick.
And yeah, Chris feels like crap today, so he's here for you.
Merry Christmas. Santa brought me a chest cold.
So yeah, there we're at. Hope you enjoy. Jordan, take it away.
Okay, so this is the series finale or season finale. Hopefully not series finale. I mean, Jaron will get back to me, but
what do you know that I don't know?
So I really wanted to build the stakes and being like, on this season finale, only 2 will survive. But Chris has already tipped his hat that he's not feeling well, so the suspense is completely gone from that. But guys, you might notice last week we did a celebration of the best things that happened in our industry. So this year, we're going to take a page from Seinfeld. If you look behind me, I've got an aluminum pole ready to go.
Pulled out from the crawl space.
I got a lot of problems with you people. So we're going to go through some of those today. I'm very excited to do that. But before we get going, guys, I just want to know. If we were characters from the beloved 90s sitcom Seinfeld, which ones do you think we would be? And they don't, I'm not talking they have to be the main 4. It doesn't have to be Jerry, George, Elaine, or Kramer. You know, you could pick a sub character, a supporting one if you'd like as well. I could start. I mean, my immediate inclination while you guys are thinking is, you know, I'd love to say I throw off Elaine vibes because I'm pretty oblivious of when I'm being a silly goose, you know, and I think I'm being really cool, but that's not actually the case. But then my wife reminded me my general tenor when I'm on press trips or under a deadline is basically George just screaming like, wait, what, no, that, what, is my general disposition. So a hybrid, I think, is who I would like to be and who I actually am.
Oh, it's George. If you're going anxious mess, it's 100% George.
Yeah.
You'd be Jerry, Chris.
You think so?
You're the star of the show.
Yeah, it's not. I don't know if I'm Jerry.
I was thinking huge Kramer energy, to be totally honest.
I Kramer it up pretty often as well, but you could make the argument
that George's mom. Because I've caught Jordan masturbating like 10 times now. That's not true. That's a lie. What? That's a lie. It's not. It's a beautiful thing. He's the greatest episode. Man. It was. You were
like Estelle.
The sun there we go. First time.
Oh man. You make the argument that I could be Soup Nazi.
I was going to go there too, but you're not that mean.
I was going to go George Steinbrenner. Like we just show up in your office and a disembodied voice is just like, I got some stuff to tell you. You got to do that. And of course, voiced by Larry David is a huge attribute to have under your belt. But I don't know. I just feel like if there was a scam afoot, if Chris had a Newman, I feel like he would be running scams all the time, which is what made me think Kramer initially. And you like big entrances.
I was going to put you as Newman, Jordan, but
so George or Newman. This is the series finale now.
Yeah.
Well, all right. With that out of the way, we actually have a surprising amount of news, despite the fact that we're getting very close to the Christmas holiday and all the other holidays. So let's get right to it. Hey, PetaPixel fans and fans.
Oh, I thought that was to me. Okay.
and fans of Chris and Jordan, are you ready for a once-in-a-lifetime adventure to Japan?
Yes.
OM System is giving you a chance to make it happen. From October 24th, if you recall, we did mention this back in October, all the way until January 3rd, so you're running out of time. You can showcase your best outdoor photography for a shot at winning an incredible trip to Japan with OM System Ambassador Michele Burns. They're calling all photographers to showcase their most creative outdoor shots, whether you're capturing the meticulous details of the macro world, the beauty of natural light and nature, or the captivating moments of untamed wildlife. This is your moment to shine. Submit your best nature-inspired photograph for a chance to win a 7-day photo tour of Japan with OM System Ambassador Lisa Michele Burns. This amazing experience, valued at over $12,000, I'm guessing over half of that is the flight, is for you and
take good care of you though.
is for you and a guest. So that's great, and we'll take you through some of Japan's most incredible landscapes. This sounds so cool.
It does.
Not only that, but you'll also receive an OM System camera bag of gear worth $2,500 to capture every unforgettable moment of your journey. That's such a crazy prize. You combine those
two, that's like two 150 to 400s of value included in this. Damn.
So, before I finish this ad read, I'm actually curious. We can't enter, but if we could, can you think of the picture you would try and enter to win this?
Oh, when are they going to be going? I'm assuming probably like springtime would be my guess. I don't know. I don't know.
But what does that have to do with your favorite, the picture you think you could win with?
Oh, that I could win with. Oh, sorry. I'm sick. I wanted the picture that I want to take in Japan. I have to fly to Japan, take the photo, then I would win with that photo.
I
just submit still frames of Jaren's Z6 III under my own name because I have the master files here. All the slow-mo stuff we shot in the Portland Gardens on the Z6 III. That's my entry.
That's video. Just frame grab.
Video? You don't have any pictures of landscapes?
This year? I don't think I've taken...
Forever, your life. I don't think they're saying it has to be done this year.
I got some pretty pictures of landscapes, yeah.
Jaren should submit the photo of me fishing. That is his greatest landscape photo he's ever taken.
Does that count?
But that's just you hurting nature in the mouth.
No. It was beautiful. It was epic. It was me casting.
There was no hook on that line, so he wasn't hurting anyone.
One with nature. Yeah, I was just modeling. Thank you, Jaren.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, see, Jordan is a Newman. He's getting more Newman all the time.
I think I would submit that picture of the tree that I took because that's my best photo so far.
Yes.
I think that's the one.
The film one, right?
Yeah, the film one that I took.
We're going to come to that later.
Well, who cares? Because all the people out there listening are better photographers than we are, and they have a chance to win this incredible prize. But they got to get their photos in like now.
Yeah,
what are you
waiting for, folks? The world is your canvas. Show OM System how you've turned the ordinary into the extraordinary. Extraordinary? Yeah. Extraordinary. You could say it both ways. Submit your entry now, and you could be on your way to Japan. For more details, visit explore.omsystem.com/PetaPixel. Link in the description below. Thanks to OM System for sponsoring the PetaPixel podcast. And now let's move on to news.
Nice.
The first story of the week is that Blackmagic's Ursa Cine Immersive got final details and a release date and price. It's coming early next year. I guess that's not really a date. It's more of a time frame. It looks so
stupid.
Well, it costs $29,999. Can I put you down for $3, Jordan?
I think we're going to need... Well, we don't really need multiple angles, considering... But I guess one in front of us and one behind us at all times for a true immersive experience. It's not a product for very many people, but you look at the scale of things that are going to be making actual Vision Pro content for Apple, 30 grand, you're just paying like a crew member's salary during the length of the project.
I honestly thought it was going to cost more than this.
I did too.
It's 2 medium format 8K sensors in one camera.
Yeah. At least it will have the resolution required to really make this stuff shine.
Yes.
Yeah, and the other cool thing, if you read into it, is they mentioned some of the support coming to Blackmagic DaVinci Resolve, and they're going to be able to. So we saw a little bit of support for like spatial video and stuff rolling into Final Cut in the last little while, but here they're going to have included support where you can actually slap on a Vision Pro and preview the project in real time while editing it. Now, I don't know if you're going to be able to do that at full frame rate, but it's still a very cool capability. And really shows the direction Apple is going. It's like high-end stuff. We're directing you to Resolve for that. More casual creators, that's Final Cut.
I was just going to say, with Final Cut, how far has Apple made progress-wise on supporting spatial audio editing in Final Cut? Because you'd think they would want to support their own product.
Yeah, and they have. That's one of the big updates in Final Cut 11 is you can now cut natively, again, in real time, but you're not actually, you can just see what each eye sees. Then you have to export your project to a Vision Pro to preview it. You're not actually able to edit in real time with it, and that's what this support is, which is going to be really essential for professionals. Exporting dual 8K, that would take so much time to be like, I don't know if this edit works. Let's export 2 8K signals. And
I'm super curious what that's going to look like because because like when you're editing, you have your timeline and then you have your preview.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if the preview is like actually going to look like that with the timeline around it, or if you have to hit like space bar to actually activate the preview while you're in the Vision Pro, because they're making it sound like you can edit the whole thing in Vision Pro, like when you're sitting at your desk.
Yeah, which sounds how it should work, honestly, where you'd basically have, a timeline window floating and then the ability to check what's going on around you in real time. I strongly suspect we'll see this roll out at NAB, and I don't have a Vision Pro, so I'm hoping I get a chance to actually see what that editing experience is like at the show. Would be kind of my goal this year.
If we go to NAB, which I would like us to do, Jordan, Chris, you're welcome to come too.
Thank you.
But we have to share a room.
Thank you for considering me as an afterthought. Like, if you're there, I guess we would still hang out with you.
Maybe I'll bring the Vision Pro that I have here, and you could try it, Jordan, just because it's such a pain to travel with. But
again, I don't get to try it. I just get to go show up. You can
watch. You can watch Jordan try it.
Great. Okay, I just want to make sure. Yeah.
This is the Martyr Complex show. I love it.
Yeah. Well, you're probably right, Jordan. That's probably going to be out at NAB. We might actually see them start delivering before NAB, but they'll definitely have this at the show for sure. Mm-hmm. So, you know what? A couple of weeks ago, Becca Farsacci came on the podcast, and with her bold prediction, she said,
which I thought was madness.
Yeah, it sounded like, I don't know, that's pretty bold, that every camera company, every major one, was going to bring a point and shoot out in 2025. It is not even 2025 yet, and she is well on her way to being correct. Because yesterday, Panasonic recommitted to the point and shoot by re-releasing a new, and it actually is new, they changed it in a pretty substantial way, the ZS99, which is a successor to the ZS80 and the ZS80D. This is a point and shoot. Yeah.
Is it a successor?
It's supposed to be.
With some tweaks.
Yeah, they made some substantial changes, one of which being they removed the EVF in order to, as they seem to phrase it, it's not something I feel comfortable quoting, but it's the impression they gave us, because the USB-C had to be added. And then they also said that the target market doesn't care about EVF, basically.
Yeah, so they're crazy.
I suspect it's more the latter.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bold prediction, but is it a prediction of doom if everybody just is re-releasing old models essentially? I mean, that is what Leica did. Now that's what Panasonic is doing. I'm all for more point and shoots on the market. Maybe I'm just grumpy right now because I'm sick, but I'm all for more point and shoots on the market, but I want to see some innovative change, not just re-releases and tweaks of old products.
They did tweak it. They took away the EVF. You don't need that.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's like exactly what I want them to do. Except no, that's the worst thing they could do. I mean, I was looking at the comparison list between the ZS80, the ZS80D, and then this camera, and they have those charts where they show you, okay, well, this feature's new, this feature's whatever. I wanted the old camera. I didn't want I'm like, yeah, I'll take the old model, please. So their comparison chart did the exact opposite to me as a consumer.
If you look,
I'm sure you guys will love it.
If you look at the article on the website, there's a picture of the side of the camera where they replaced the micro USB port with USB-C. And if you look carefully, it appears that the color of the ink they used is different for the charge font and the HDMI font. Like it looks exciting. You look at it, that's like a different shade of white.
That wasn't even on the chart. That's exciting. Wow. Breaking news, Jaron.
New shade.
Yeah, time for an article. I mean, there are some updates, like it now supports vertical video. It'll just drop it right into your timeline and its correct orientation. And then they've brought in the big red record button, which does actually make it easier to tell when you're rolling as opposed to just the countdown in the bottom left. But I was hoping that we would see, for example, phase detect autofocus, some of the stuff they've been working on in the last little while roll into it. So no, unfortunately it's not there. And the price didn't really drop. So I don't know, if you're looking for a new point and shoot, I mean, I've always liked the ZS. It's a huge zoom range on it, but it is a little bitty sensor.
And a huge zoom range is better used with an EVF. It's ridiculous holding these things out at arm's length. Zooming into that extreme telephoto, it's like wobbly as AF. All get out.
Wobbly as AF.
Yeah, it does have AF. So I don't know. I'd honestly, I know I'm being negative, but I'd go back to the old school mini USB in order to get the EVF back personally. And I know that's probably not why they took it out, but I'd prefer the older camera. But hey, you guys have the option now.
Yeah, well, until they are gone, you can only find them on the used market, maybe at KEH. But this isn't the only thing Panasonic announced yesterday. They also upgraded the G to a G97, which is an upgraded version of the G95, G95D. It's a micro four thirds interchangeable lens camera that they added some improved slow and quick motion capability. They put a higher resolution 1.840K dot rear LCD. They upgraded it to Bluetooth 5, and they added the send image button, which is they also added to the ZS99. And then they also put USB-C. They didn't take anything away, though.
Yay.
Yep.
So this is a straight upgrade.
Yeah. It's still not the re-release update that we wanted, though. Right? Where's the little guy? Where's the little guy?
Yeah, I like this series of camera. It's just it does still have some of the drawbacks from like quite a ways back. This still has a crop factor when you're doing 4K recording. The kind of like processor limitations I would hope they would have gotten rid of at this class of camera at this point. But yeah, it's always nice to plug USB-C into things. It brings me joy.
All right. There you go.
Panasonic's going to hate my guts.
I don't know. I don't think they have strong opinions in any direction, really, ever about anyone. They seem very neutral. All right. Well, that wasn't the only new stuff that dropped yesterday. Just a couple hours later, Nikon dropped another firmware update for the Z9.
I'm the only excited person.
And this is purely filmmaking stuff. So they gave you
shutter angle.
they gave you guys shutter angle and the ability to customize your zebra.
And you can now shift the waveform and histogram.
That's right. You can move
as
it.
well.
You're right.
And that was one of my big. I loved getting the waveform on the Nikons, but I find I'm constantly moving it. Like on the Panasonics, just drag it around the frame to wherever there's not important information. So now being able to move that on a Nikon is a big upgrade, and shutter angle is wonderful. It's funny because I was looking at pulling some Z6 III footage recently for our camera of the year stuff, and I'm like, damn it, this 4K 60 footage was clearly shot at a 60th of a second, and it's blurry and looks like trash. Yeah. And I know exactly what happened in that moment is I switched to 60 and forgot to flip my shutter speed. So just not to have to stress about that is a really nice benefit.
Shutter angle's great.
Yeah.
And it seems like such an easy thing to code and implement, right? Like, so hopefully we'll see a lot of these changes come to the Z8 shortly as well. That would be nice. I don't see why not. But also frame IO support. So everybody's pushing frame IO support.
So there's a caveat with that. It's frame IO, but it only works with Android devices. So they went weird because usually Android
is opposite of how it usually goes.
And it's not from an Apple fanboyism thing, even though, yes, I would prefer it come to Apple devices first. It's mainly developers don't do Android first because they have to develop for so many different phones. Like it usually takes longer to make sure that it works flawlessly on Android than it does on iPhone. Good for them.
Android needs love.
And it got it. You can only do Frame IO through the NX Mobile Air app with Android devices. They've said that iOS is coming. What's interesting is they did say when they promised this was coming at Adobe Max earlier this year, they said mid-2025. So they're way ahead of schedule here on Android. Maybe mid-2025 is when we're going to get it on iOS. Right. One last thing.
Mid-25 like maybe NAB. Maybe it'll be a big one this year.
Does that count as mid? That's April. I still feel like that's early.
It's getting close to mid, as the kids say.
What do they? One last thing I wanted to mention, and I'm going to get your guys' take on this. Is the Z9 the most supported camera after purchase? Like the most a company has ever freely supported a camera in the history of cameras? And before you answer, we went and looked, and this is knowing that they truncate every time they have a new update to the camera. Nikon compresses how much they wrote about before, but you can look at the previous firmware updates, what they added. Yesterday, before they published this update, it was 6,700 words long. In a typical book, that's 23 pages of updates. So that's before they added more here. That is an insane amount of post-purchase support.
Yeah. I mean, Panasonic has been pretty good with a lot of their cameras too. But I mean, it's nice to see
previously
Nikon
would charge you for some of it. Nikon has not charged for any of it.
I mean, the one I keep going back to is the original X100 was still getting support like longer than the Z9 has been out. The question that you could debate is like, are the updates on the Z9 more substantial? Because the Z9 wasn't a fundamentally broken camera when it initially shipped to market.
What do you say?
Like the X100 was. So I'm inclined to maybe give the crown to the X100. But yeah, I mean, in terms of actually useful improvements that are changing the way that people are using the camera, which is why I think we see so much emphasis on cinema, I think the Z9 might be the most dramatic that we've seen.
It's great. I think Nikon's just really trying to push still this, keeping the Z9 as current as possible, because it is kind of starting to reach that point where, people are getting inklings like, okay, like when are we going to get a Z9 II? It's about time, right? Like, so it's good that they're supporting it, not just let it kind of fade off into obscurity, because the Z8 is so much more popular for good reason. But also Nikon's, I think, just still really trying to push hard to be like, look, we're making a real effort to make our products good value for the money. You know that you're going to get support going forward. I mean, this is something that other companies have pushed and tried for, and then, ultimately maybe they don't always keep up with it. So we'll see if Nikon keeps up with it. But so far, so good.
The other interesting thing is we've seen this trend where they're rolling out the firmware updates. Like it was the same with the animal like trap release support, where we saw that first for the Z9 and then rolls through to the Z8. It's almost like they're giving a bonus to the people who did invest the extra money early, and I think that's a totally fair decision for them to make.
As they should.
Yeah. But hopefully that means shutter angle on a Z8 and a Z6 III as soon as possible, and I'll be all over that.
Honestly, all cameras should have it. It's such a minor thing to implement. It's so silly that they don't. Yeah, it's so basic.
I think it's honestly because a lot of these companies are not filmmaker camera companies, so they don't really think about it.
But they all are, though. Everybody
are
is.
now.
Everybody is desperate to be a video hybrid manufacturer now. This is the kind of support that we've been telling them they need for years and years and years, and they know it. And so it's great. So, better late than never.
Got it.
No excuses. I'm in a bad mood today.
No, that's okay. That's fine.
It's the episode for it.
Yeah. Oh man.
All right, two more. Next one, Jordan knows a lot about this. He brought this to our attention. Kodak and Huf team have teamed up for a stylish, vintage-inspired streetwear line for clothing. You were wearing yours on our morning meeting yesterday, Jordan.
I was, because Jeremy Gray, I saw the article popping up, and I was like, oh, damn, I actually have one of those shirts. So I threw it on really quickly and took a picture. And if you look really carefully, our family's elf on the shelf prank was to draw on my forehead, and I didn't get all of the green ink off when I took that picture. So if you zoom in really closely, I thought I cloned most of it out, but there is a little bit still left there.
That's really funny.
But yeah, we were at West Edmonton Mall, as we've talked about, with my kid there who's into scooter skateboarding stuff, and they were unpacking a box, and I saw this and I was like, oh, I like that, I want that. And they're like, it's brand new, and I didn't know it, but maybe it wasn't even officially released yet. But I scooped this sucker up, which is cool.
Yeah, it's
I
nice.
like it. And they have a whole series that I had no idea. I just saw this one shirt, but then the PetaPixel article shows the other stuff.
I want the Tri-X hat.
This is, by the way, in no way an advertisement. Like neither Huf nor Kodak paid us for this.
Just cool stuff.
I just went and I purchased two things. I got that black and white sweater with the film on there, and I got the gray sweater with the orange text too. That's in. Did the header image.
I want the exposure triangle one. That's cool.
I did not get that. I have too many T-shirts now. I went and I bought a bunch of Gundam T-shirts that are on their way, and I can't rationalize more T-shirts. But I need sweaters because it's Portland here and it's cold a lot of the year. So there you go. Neat stuff.
There you go.
I don't skateboard, but I want to hang that skateboard behind me on the wall.
Oh, yeah, they have
that would
deck.
look cool. But it would be not indicative of my personality, which is, as we've already discussed, more George and Newman than extreme sports. So might not work.
Last story of the week, Adobe actually pushed an update to... It's kind of in beta right now. It's only in ACR, Adobe Camera Raw, but it is a tool that removes reflections from photos. So if you're like shooting through a window or shooting a window in your shot, you can get rid of the reflections with a slider. And I saw how this works, and at one end, you could actually tell it to focus on the reflection, make the reflection more visible, and then at the other end is get rid of it. So to me, I like it. It appears to be a smart tool. It'll work. It's a reflection. It'll work on a puddle. Try it.
We'll have to. I mean, we'll get opportunity to test the puddle slider on puddles, no question. I guess I think it's really interesting. It's doing it on device. I think that's cool.
Yeah. I don't think it's going to do things for like mirror-based reflections, like, but maybe off water. Certainly they have examples of where it's mimicking like a polarizing filter, getting rid of the sky reflections when shooting into water. That would be very useful. But yeah, I mean, this is a legitimately beneficial use of AI where we're always shooting through airplane windows. We're always shooting through, shop fronts or house windows. And so this is a really interesting tool.
It's now worth it to take that picture through that train window because you can actually get a usable shot out of it, which is neat.
Yeah. Interesting.
All right. That's the news. It's time for what will become the annual airing of Grievances. That was, if you saw my screen vibrate, it's because I just pounded my desk with my fist. We're gonna air those grievances.
I'll shake my pole.
Yeah.
Grievance time.
But before we get to that, we have a main story sponsor. It's Excire Photo.
My pole's collapsing.
Oh, well, Festivus is ruined.
Go ahead.
But what isn't ruined is going to be your experience when you're trying to organize and stay on top of all of the images. I mean, this is a problem that we all face. And so there are some really interesting AI-based programs that can help you out. And Excire makes two very powerful programs. Excire Photo 2025, this is their standalone program. Lots of cutting-edge AI tools. And also Excire Search 2024. This is a Lightroom Classic plugin. Brings nearly all of Photo 2025's AI tools into Lightroom, so you can do it standalone or with your favorite workflow, and really good stuff. So first off, you've got a rapid search program. Like you can use a prompt search, search by faces or people, by GPS locations, similarity searches, keyword searches. It's just really nice to have that. And they also have a really cool AI, automatic AI keyword tagging setup. So if I input a bunch of photos, it can add appropriate tags, which I can then search for later. So really handy. Also, culling is really neat. So you can rapidly cull batches of photos, put in parameters like things that are out of focus or, some sort of motion blur, things like that. And it will just automatically cull that. That can be really handy. And it goes beyond that. And then just image organization, cleaning up your catalog with the AI keywording, getting rid of duplicate images. Really nice. Saves you tons of times, keeps all your images usable, even if you've got a huge collection, which we do now on the show. Huge image collection. It uses AI to help you out, but you always have control over what parameters you want to search for, how you want it to all the organizations. So you don't feel like you're out of control or pigeonholed into a certain way. This will help you stay on top of deadlines. It gives you all the control that you need, runs locally on your computer, so your privacy is protected. It's not going up to some cloud-based thing. It's all right there. But you can use it with external drives, NAS, cloud storage if you want to. There's some great programs right now, 14-day free trial, so you can try it yourself, either the Photo 2025 standalone or the Excire Search 2024 Lightroom plugin. You can get it for Mac and Windows, though, as lifetime licenses. So no subscription fees, none of that stuff. So try it out free. And then if you like it, you get your lifetime subscription and you never have to worry about it again. And there is a special discount code for our listeners. Just put in the code PetaPixel and you'll get 15% off your order.
Thanks,
we're doing a Micro Four Thirds lens video that's going to be out the day after this podcast drops. And I was looking for pictures I took in beautiful Christina Lake all over my damned hard drive, and eventually found them in a video folder for some reason. Must have just exported like after doing a video project. So that is an exact example where this software would be great. It scans your entire hard drive, and I would have saved a lot of time, which would have been great.
Yeah. And it'll go, I mean, it's interesting. You can do basic stuff like if you're a Christina Lake, you could do like very basic keywords like just find me everything that has to do with beaches, right? And it'll do that. But as you increase those prompts and put more details in like relaxing at the beach or water sports, like water skiing, for example, at the beach or specific locations, it'll do that. Obviously, you can do things like help it recognize family members or important people, tag them by their name, and then you could just say, find me all the photos of my daughter, Maddie, for example, right? So, and you can then expound that. You can say all my pictures, daughter Maddie, at the beach, at Christina Lake. You can really make it specific. So it's a very useful tool.
Would have taken me 3 seconds instead of half an hour.
Yeah.
Thanks to Excire Photo for sponsoring this main story segment, the annual airing of grievances, which is going to come in 2 segments. First, we're going to air the grievances against the industry as a whole, things that we're tired of. And then Jordan has a special surprise after that.
Yeah, it's going to require some context, so we'll get to that when we get there.
Man.
But let's kick it off with, Chris, you're clearly the grumpiest, so I feel like you should kick us off with your things that have been just pissing you off this year.
I'm not a lot of things get under my skin in the industry, but it's true. I know you guys don't agree, but I'm grumpy today, so I'm going to do it. So first off, and this really requires context. So the first part of this, everybody's going to now quote this on the comments, blah, blah. Everything going video centric, but it's at the expense of photographers. Okay. I love that things are going video centric. I have no problem with video centric products. So, you can add that to your list of stuff that you're going to talk about here. It's more so that we're seeing a lot of photographic tools getting taken away. And that's really annoying. I mean, this latest EVF disappearing and stuff, and just sort of the attitude like, oh, well, our users don't care about that stuff anymore. Like, I don't know, man. I think it's to keep the cost down and still release a product with other changes, what I think it is. But the loss of EVFs is a big one. That really drives me crazy.
There was several of them this year, like where you got a new camera and you didn't get an EVF.
Yeah, S9, XM5, ZVE10 II. Now, of course, the XM5 and ZVE10 II come from series that didn't have one.
That doesn't make it okay.
But yeah, the S9 launching a new series in that price range without an EVF is a massive oversight, in my opinion.
Yeah. So, are we going to see, I guess it's up to 2025, are we going to see the return of these? Can we have the option for EVF or not EVF? I don't know.
Just give me the ability to put one on the hot shoe. Sell me a separate one.
That used to be a thing. No one's done it for years, but it used to be quite a common workaround.
The Fujifilm XM5 was a great example of where you can release a camera that has really powerful video features, awesome on a gimbal, really useful kind of stuff for video workers, B-cam, awesome. But had they just put a simple EVF on there, it would have also got mass market appeal as a very compact, stylish, walk-around photographic camera. Like, why not just give people that? And EVFs, finding real estate and stuff, I mean, look at companies like Sony. They were able to do it on their RX100 series without taking up any space at all. So there are ways around it. Yes, I know it costs money, but I just feel like we're seeing this huge push right now for sort of vlog style cameras. And in a lot of cases, they're basically just not very useful for photographers. So that's one thing. Okay, next thing. JPEG XL support. Taking forever. It's time. Let's do it. It's not new technology. It'd be really useful to have. I hope that we see that change. And on top of that, I would also add proprietary RAW formats.
Yeah, those suck. You know what? I'm annoyed with those. Annoying. They're especially annoying for us, which makes, I mean, it's very specific to people who have like pre-release cameras or whatnot, but it's like having
But even post-release, like when we were doing, full review on, for example, the XM5 to just be like, waiting for Adobe.
And like last week we had that person who sent us a speak pipe and they're like, I really want to open my OM system files on my Mac and it can't open those RAWs. And it's like, this wouldn't be a problem.
You can't even preview them through the browser.
Yeah. This would be fine if it was just a DNG.
Absolutely. And I get that companies want to have their own proprietary formats and they want to do certain metadata tagging and all, corrections and blah, 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 blah. But a lot of that can be applied to DNGs, which are very general purpose. And honestly, like look at one of the greatest photographic companies of all time, Ricoh Pentax, who had the foresight to say, look, you can choose with a very simple menu option. Do you want to shoot PEFs, which is the Pentax file, or DNGs? It's not rocket science. I know it's not rocket science. So why not give people the option to have that? Or again, JPEG XL support will go a long way to addressing that as well.
It's one of the few circumstances where someone will say, be more like Pentax.
Be more like Pentax. There's a lot of things we could do more like Pentax and a lot of things that they should do like everybody else. Anyways, that's another great. I'm not going to get started on that. And then lastly, on that same kind of note, I want to see more computational features done in camera. This is something that a lot of people do really well, but a lot of companies still insisting on making you use their proprietary software, having to wait till after the fact of taking the image to stack stuff together, to do focus stacking, to do higher res image stacking. Like, just let us do it in camera. so we can preview and see that it's proper. It's so annoying when we're told, oh yeah, you just use our very convenient, very fast, never crashes software, which is obviously never true, to do all this stuff afterwards, and you're going to love it. And the fact is we don't love it. So those are my grievances.
I'm not going to drag a laptop around to see if my image stack worked properly.
It's not even just that either,
it's
right?
Not how photographers
and the
work.
software's slow and annoying. And
Canon and Sony are the major ones, right? Like there's that's where the other one that bugs me
Nikon is still
Nikon.
doing image stack through software as well.
What was it? The way that they tried to implement the looks on the new camera, the Z52.
Yes,
they make you do it through some you
through
have
the
to use a laptop.
Yeah.
It's so lame. You have to at least give me an app if you're not going to put it in the camera.
I don't mind if I have to wait a little bit longer. Processing power doesn't have to be the latest and greatest, but I want to be able to do so. And like OM System does a great job of this with their capabilities. Panasonic do a good job with this too. You can do it.
Yeah, I didn't mind waiting for the noise reduction or the up-resing on the R5 Mark II and the R1.
No.
I just want to know if it worked. That's all I want to know before I leave a location. They're always like high res for landscape and product photography. I mean, those are things where I'm like, do I have a weird, gross moire pattern? I want to know that before I leave the area. So yeah, absolutely. Drives me crazy too, Chris. I stand by you. Stand firm with you, my brother.
Appreciate that.
Do you mind if I go next, Jordan?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I've got 3. And the first one here, I know I'm not alone, but in this industry, we have to stop cramming AI into everything for the sake of having AI in it. If you're going to put AI in it, make it good. Make it passable, as Chris says. Like the start of the year was Samsung basing an entire phone line around bad AI. And that sort of just continued for the full year. And I'm sick of it, and I won't stand for it anymore.
Yeah, we're hearing so much, just the shareholders are hearing AI as the buzzword. So our products need to have AI front and center. But if it's not finished yet, or even, just say our AI, our autofocus algorithm is machine learning based. Great. But no, everything has to be, it's AI. It's not
a buzzword.
It's a word, as you say, for shareholders, not for the people buying the stuff. Yeah. We're the ones you should care about because we're the reason that you sell products that makes the shareholders happy. Stop trying to just go. Don't jump us. Go straight to give us something good.
Machine learning and deep learning are technically AI though, but then we're getting really pedantic. I know what you're trying to say.
It's the meme where the dude's looking over his shoulder so the camera companies are the dude, the consumers are the one he's walking with, and he's looking over at them shareholders.
At the shareholders,
oh man, I like that.
Yeah, I know that.
I'm into that.
It's a good meme.
I do like the implementation of AI in software programs, like we were talking about, like Lightroom, like Excire. I mean, that makes natural sense. But
adios Hans, baby.
Yeah,
right?
there are some good. There definitely are good use cases. I'm just saying I don't like the bad ones. Don't rush it. Do it correctly. That way, when you push it out, it's not broken. For example, I'm still waiting for Adobe to tell me what happened with their AI powered tools in RAW formats. It's straight up broken and it does not work. And I need to know why. And they haven't come up with a reason. It's something's going on with RAWs. Is all I know.
Brave new frontiers.
Super irritating. The next one that I'm really miffed about, and I'm sick of hearing it, is that everyone who's not paying close attention tends to immediately blame Sigma or Tamron for not supporting, quote, their mount. So why is Sigma not giving Nikon any lens? It's not up to them. Stop it.
They want to make lenses so bad.
Yes. I know Sigma wants to make lenses for Nikon and Canon very badly. And so they will do it when they're allowed to, but don't blame Kazuto-san when Canon's the one telling them not to do it because they'll sue him. That's it.
Look, everyone just be nicer to Kazuto-san this year.
Yeah, seriously. He's doing things
He's
for you.
He's the best interview in our industry. So come on, don't frustrate him.
Jesus. Finally, my final grievance, and I think Chris would agree with this one too, at least. I'm probably you too, Jordan, is that if you're going to make a film camera, which you should, because film is awesome, don't just make one because you see that film is selling well and you just want to get in there quick. Make a good one. Make it great. Pentax did a good job. That's
this rolls right through to our best and worst. That was a long diatribe. We probably should have been more coherent when we initially. We're like, I thought Chris and I clipped through that. We spent 10 minutes rambling about we like film, but make good cameras. There, I just summed it up, and it took me like 5 seconds.
Yeah. It's just because I know there's going to be an S-storm of people being like, oh, you guys don't know analog. You don't care about analog, blah, blah. No, we love analog. And we think more people should love it. And there's obviously a lot of hype right now and a lot of excitement about this field. And everybody is rushing to make some sort of piece of crap camera because, they could put their name on it, they could put their logo on it and be like, look, we're doing it too. And it's like, well, make something innovative, make something interesting, especially because you're going to find this market's going to get so saturated so quickly. Look at all the film companies who just rehash the same emulsions, but have to somehow market it to appeal to people. It's a nightmare. So make something that's like substantially capable. We're seeing a lot of really cool beginner analog cameras, as we just talked about. I think Pentax did it really well with the 17. I think that was a good move. And I was skeptical when I first saw it. I think that was a really good way to approach it. But now, let's make some analog cameras for people who really want to be serious about analog and shoot with control and capability.
I think Voigtlander should come back and make cameras again. I really do.
I think like in 2025, we're just going to we want to do more film videos. Chris and I really enjoy doing those. We're just going to be very choosy about what we take a look at is what you can kind of expect going forward.
Because there's so much to wade through. Yeah. Everybody's got a Terry Richardson camera. Nobody needs that anymore, right? We need some serious stuff now.
I don't like his name.
No, makes me sad.
Jordan, you're up.
Oh, man, here we go. So I am furious, Jaron and Chris, about the lack of Bluetooth support for both mics and monitoring on mainstream mirrorless cameras.
We've had many conversations
started to see this. Absolutely. We're starting to see this in some of the action cameras right now. Makes a ton of sense. If I've got AirPods and I can just quickly check the audio on my clip, that's an incredibly useful, I don't need the absolute best quality or zero latency, things like that. Same thing with, just getting clean audio in a pinch to be able to use that. And more we're seeing Bluetooth support on these consumer forward microphones, like the new Rodes, the DJIs. I want those to go directly into the camera as a person who, does, let's say theoretically, forget the hot shoe mount for a microphone at home and have to have a receiver dangling off the side of the camera, something I would never do because it would be grossly unprofessional.
Yeah.
But in situations like that, to just have it feed right into the camera and still be able to record on the microphone as a backup would just be such a great solution. Mm-hmm. And we've seen, on the GoPro, you could use the Bluetooth protocols and it sounds like a phone call, kind of, because it's using a very low data rate. But we've also seen manufacturers no, we're just using Bluetooth and sending data with the audio information, so it's actually good quality. I think this is a no-brainer for especially companies like Sony that make microphones. Just let me feed it directly in. And I know they're you can plug it right into the hot shoe now and bypass running a cable, but I don't care about that. I want it to go right into the camera directly. So sort this out. People would love it, and especially young creators, I'm sure, why the hell doesn't this work? This is very confusing to me. What is a 3.5 millimeter cable? In my young life, I've never experienced this before. So... or 3.5 millimeter connection, rather. So sort that out. On the topic of sort that out, HDR support is absolute madness, and we've got it going on both the video side. There's all kinds of standard protocols for it. Filmmakers are using it one way. Smartphone manufacturers are using it another way. There's no standardization, and it's even worse on the photo side. Yes, now we're seeing Adobe HDR support, but if you just say output for example, output for iPhone or something like that should be a default output setting where it knows exactly how much dynamic range it has to work with, where right now you're I don't know, I just have to choose how much I'm alienating my viewers. Which is not a decision we ever want to make.
It's very confusing for the consumer. Honestly, it's very consuming for the reviewer. So I can't even imagine how the consumers are. Like every product now will say supports HDR, but that doesn't necessarily mean it does, right? You're not getting full gamma, you're not getting full brightness. Like everybody's just throwing out the term HDR, and it becomes
been a problem
this,
for a long time, honestly.
Yeah, it becomes this vacuous word that people that like you associate no actual beneficial meaning to it anymore.
Yeah, and talking to filmmakers, they're like, look, we found a solution for the HDR problem, which is we only use the highest channels for like fully clipped highlights with no important information in it. But then that sucks. You're not actually using the full room that you should have available to do that. I want some of the brighter areas that are important to drift into that, but you're always like, but if I do that, then some people won't be able to see it. There just needs to be some form of standardization. And I know Dolby Vision on the filmmaking side is definitely a move in that direction, but there's nothing equivalent to it for photo. So this year, I just want to see a big announcement like, look, we've all talked, there's a standard or a pair of standards or something.
Before you move on from this, my thing with Dolby Vision that is my only complaint is that it's proprietary and requires a license, and then you'll end up with companies who just flat out refuse to give Dolby a pound of flesh in the TV space.
Yeah.
Samsung won't do it. Samsung says no. We refuse to give them money, and therefore their TVs are worse for it. Everyone else supports it, but everyone also, I don't know why. I can't stand Samsung TVs, but Samsung sells a lot of TVs, and Dolby Vision isn't supported on them.
Yeah,
that's what I don't want to happen in cameras. Is just let's everyone except Canon. I could see that happening. Supports some format, and then
it's going to be the sort of Blu-ray versus HD disc thing all over again.
Yeah,
right?
but that got sorted eventually, and there was a Blu-ray standard, and it was great.
Okay, no, it's actually
had a knife fight in an alley, and one of
porn
them
picked
died
one up. That's how it works.
Out.
So whatever porn does for HDR, the rest of us can follow.
Give me a pornographic standard immediately.
Yeah, please. Yeah. AVF or whatever. Give us one. What the?
Yeah.
Anyway, next.
I got one more, guys. Have you noticed on press trips this year, we go and we get briefed on new products and we ask for basic information on it that is more relevant the way our industry is developing, and we get absolutely no information from them on it. It's like,
it's weird, right?
We're now talking about like, stacked sensors and readout is so incredibly important with so much emphasis on the electronic shutter. And we're like, what's the readout speed? And we're like, can't tell you. You got to go figure that out for yourself. Or, hey, we got different crop factors when we're even doing high-speed photography now where they're applying crop. What are the crop factors? I don't know. Go shoot a brick wall and sort it out for yourself. And then the most egregious one is brightness of displays. Like, yeah, man, I don't have a way of measuring that. Just give me a nit. Like, it seems like this is all recent stuff. For the whole time I've been reviewing cameras, when a new camera comes out, there's a spec list and it has everything that I need to know on it. And now we're just starting to see them being like, well, we don't have to give them that information.
The nit one is baffling because Canon still hasn't given us a nit value for the R1's EVF.
State of the art, top of the line, incredibly bright, we were informed.
Just tell
viewfinder.
me.
Yeah, and they have like an optical viewfinder simulation. They're like, and it'll use the extra brightness of our viewfinder. How much brightness? We have no clue. We have no idea. You guys sort it out. It's maddening. It drives me crazy. I mean, we've talked about Canon a lot, but we're seeing the same kind of garbage out of like Sony and
smartphone makers don't tell us the size of the sensors anymore either.
No, that's another great one.
But they do
tell you nit brightness though, don't they?
Yeah, they do tell us the brightness of that screen, but
could we find a middle ground between the smartphone?
It's so weird. It's like they don't want us to know. But we're going to find out. I will break that phone in half and tear that sensor out of there if I have to measure it. But I don't want to.
Us as reviewers either. I mean, it is for the viewers. I think they would appreciate it too if they had access to this information. But then you wouldn't need us anymore. So until that time, we'll keep translating and letting you know these numbers. Like readout speed would make it like that should be a regular shutter.
That should be right at the top by megapixel count
in the data sheet. Yeah, because that's really going to let people now have an idea of like, okay, where can I use this camera? Where can I not?
And then. On a press trip, I wouldn't have to try and sort out what the readout speed is and maybe be slightly off because I'm doing it in a hotel room at 1 o'clock in the morning. And then they're like, well, you got the readout speed wrong. I'm like, well, then tell me.
And I'm like, so if we got it wrong, that means you know what's right, but you had to tell us what right is. I don't like that. I don't like the guessing game.
I've walked in on him like doing readout speed tests in the hotel, and then I'm like, oh, Georgie. And it's terrible. It's horrible.
Perfect. All right, so the next segment is something almost a year ago I promised Chris, because Chris, when something, specifically when someone bothers him,
been asking for this, like this is a favor to me.
This is a huge favor. I'm helping you out with this. So Chris likes to call people monsters when they disappoint or irritate him in some way. This has been the case for many years, but I noticed an increased frequency of it. So I said, Chris, I am going to start a list of all the reasons that people are monsters. We're going to discuss them at the end of the year. And this is great because I've got an impartial witness. Jaron is going to determine whether or not these are legitimate reasons for someone to be a monster. And Chris, I am absolutely going to give you rebuttal time on these. Now, one thing you pointed out to me is I was just writing down the reasons for the first half to like 2/3 of a year. Okay. Without context. In the last half, at your request, I have started adding context, but we're going to have to think back and try and remember. I've been looking at these. I think I have context on most of them.
I've been present for some of these.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Yes, you have.
Jaron will also be here. So I will tell the reason. Chris, if you'd like to give me context, Jaron, you determine whether or not that is a legitimate reason for someone to be a monster. Are you ready?
Most of these are you, right? Most of these are you are the monster, Jordan.
Yes. Now, Chris, Jaron and I have also called people monsters. I would say, looking at this list, less frequently than Chris has.
It is a thing.
So we will also go through those at the end. But honestly, we're going to be spending a little bit of time on Chris right now. Okay.
This will only take an hour and a half.
All right, here we go. Reason number 1, not bringing OM1-2 for lens review. I did not have the OM1-2 for, I believe it was the 150-400. You shot that on the original OM1. Thoughts?
You monster.
Oh, 100% monster. I mean, like it's our job to be testing with the latest autofocus on this advanced camera. And I did not have access to the OM1-2 at that time. Jordan had it and he didn't bring it. He brought me the original. I think that's totally valid.
Yeah, valid.
Okay.
I mean, it's the viewers that you really shafted, not me. It's really them that
they should be very upset.
They should be upset.
Okay. Number 2, bringing a spider outside instead of squishing it.
Yeah, 100%. That's terrible. If you put a house spider outside, you're simply condemning it to a nasty death in an environment where it cannot survive. So you should have just put it out of its misery.
I am torn on this one. Because I'm aware that house spiders will indeed die when you put them outside, and it's the same fate regardless, except that one's slower and more painful.
I'm hoping evolution.
You could always just leave it.
You think the house spider would just it'd be the toughest house spider and would find a way to survive?
The one that does, I've just
Pixar should make the evolution about that
of the spider.
I don't feel comfortable doing a vote on this one because it deals with life. So
okay, perfect. Asking for tape to be removed from pre-production camera.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Like to do a B-roll shot or something like that, so you can see the logo. Yeah. That's I don't know.
Wait, so you were upset that it was not removed, or you wanted it?
Chris called me a monster for requesting that the tape was removed from the camera while shooting B-roll.
No, that's not valid. You should remove it.
Not legitimate.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was just tired. I was just I was like,
asking for more horizontal images.
Yeah. 100%.
Chris loves the verts.
I love vertical shooting, and Jordan, I get that it's simply from the fact that it's easier for him to input horizontal images into a horizontal video timeline. I get it, but this is art. You cannot say to somebody, "Oh, you must stifle this part of your creativity so that it's easier for me to fit into a 16:9 frame." And again, viewers, I'm so sorry. This is Jordan being a monster to you as well, because he's trying to keep this creative outlet from you. I mean, yeah.
I'm with Jordan. I'm sorry. I'm with Chris on this one. I don't think you should tell Chris how to take a picture.
Okay. Yes. I just think it would be nice if the details filled more of the frame when we're talking about detail. But it's moving on. I've just been doing this for 14 years. Anyways, next one.
You're a monster for telling me to do this for 14 years.
But you've been ignoring me, so we've hit a neutral ground. Because I generally get more verts than horizontals.
Oh my gosh. It's photography. You can't. Oh my gosh.
Okay, moving right along. This was directed to Jaron. He was a monster for not answering speak pipes fast enough. enough.
Oh yeah, I accept. I have so many.
Legitimate.
There's 27 more that we're not going to get to this year.
All right.
I feel like I'm a hero for the people. In all of these, I'm a hero for the people because I'm really advocating for them.
That is true. Directed at me, tipping too much.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You're a
What percent are we talking here?
Hideous over tipper.
Like 30%?
It varies, but if it's a low price item and they actually make an effort, then I do tip quite well because if you just do like 15% on something super cheap, but it's like a great cup of coffee or something like that, then
I tip
it's
well
a variable.
Too, if they gave you the machine and it said 25, 30, or 35%, you would hit 35%. You've got it's like a thing. It's like a monstrous thing.
Like, do you feel bad?
I feel like I've worked to get to some modicum of success where I want to. When I was working at restaurants and low income jobs, you get a decent tip. It could make your day. I want to have the ability to send that out into the world.
I'm with
Go
Jordan
ahead, Jaron.
Invalid,
Okay.
Chris. I'm with Jordan.
Invalid. Not adding that.
They could drop half their hair into your soup and you'd still give them 25%. Anyways. Okay.
Okay. Moving on. Leaving camera bag on unoccupied table at bar.
Ooh, yeah. You monster.
Okay. Legitimate.
Yeah.
Chris, do
I
you have
don't
any
remember the
follow-up on that?
context. I'm sure it's happened quite a
Were we
few
in
times.
Idaho?
But
No, this is we were shooting in Calgary, and we went to a bar to have lunch, and I put my camera bag on an unoccupied table instead of the seat beside me. So,
that makes far more sense. Yeah, that's that's terrible. How could you do that? You
Don't do that,
monster.
Jordan.
Yeah, because then someone's going to come by wanting to sit. They're like, I want to really sit next to Chris and Jordan. They're Calgary famous, and I want to have. And they're like, oh, clearly Jordan is telling me he does not want anybody sitting next to him.
I'm building a buffer for us to maintain our our privacy.
You monster.
Okay, so is that legitimate, Jaron?
That's legitimate.
Okay, bumped.
I think so far I'm doing pretty good. Like these. Yeah,
I said it was going to be. It was going to be a okay. Not accepting a free baseball hat on a baseball sponsored flight.
I remember this one. Terrible, Jordan. Take the hat.
Yeah,
take that.
WestJet.
Okay.
We were flying a WestJet flight. The Blue Jays were in the playoffs. It was a big deal, but Canadian spirit and support. And they offered everybody Blue Jay hats, baseball hats. And I'm like, your kid could have it. Your kid loves sports. Give it, take the hat, give it to your kid. He would love it. And he's just like, I have no space for this hat. I refuse to take it on the airplane. It will be a huge inconvenience for me. I'm like, honestly,
I was tight on space.
They could poop in your food and you give them 30% tip, but they offer you a free hat and you're like, I will not partake of this.
Free hat.
There is a conclusion to this story, which is I did jam the hat in under duress from Chris encouraging me.
Because you knew you were
my
wrong.
son, who has never worn the hat. So there is a button on that.
Oh, man.
Okay, this is a local one that might need a little bit of context. I'll let Chris fill in the context on this one. Not enjoying the Kinjo waitstaff's comments about my whiteness or my wife's hotness. Go ahead, Chris.
What?
He doesn't even remember this one.
Okay, so at Kinjo, one of my beefs with Kinjo is
Kinjo is a local sushi restaurant. It's very affordable. It's very family friendly. We eat there all the time. Okay.
And then often the owner or one of his underlings will come over and say like, "You're a beautiful lady. What are you doing with this goofy white boy?" Or some variation of that to just add to the levity and joy of the sushi experience when I just want to eat cheap sushi. So yes, I was described as a monster for not enjoying that aspect of the Kinjo experience.
But your wife is a beautiful lady, and I mean,
I'm not denying that.
They're just trying to compliment. Okay, but you still gave him a 28% tip, so it's crazy. I don't get it.
I'm leaning Jordan-y here, but I could see both sides.
All right. Not watching Edge Runner on Netflix.
Yeah. Total monster. That's a great anime. It's fantastic.
I haven't seen it yet. I'm sorry.
Oh, you guys.
That was directed at you, Jaron, as well.
Oh, that was,
yeah. I'm still finishing Cyberpunk, the game. I'm going to beat it in this week. So
I would not expect Jordan to watch it, but
me,
Jaren's
you expect. I know. I'm sorry.
Watching
I am a
Cyberpunk,
monster.
you should
Agreed.
watch it. Yeah.
Agreed. Yes.
Okay, so we're going to add that to a legitimate beef?
Yeah, that's a legitimate beef.
Okay, great. Forgetting to return hotel room key.
Like the cards that you can just throw away?
Like the card, yeah. I was going through security and I forgot to put this in the bin.
There was
I remember you got to the airport and you're emptying out all your stuff, and I was like, you still have your hotel room key, you monster. Yeah. I mean, it's just the planet the way it is, Jordan.
That's
every
valid?
Card counts.
Valid. Yeah, you should have returned
valid?
it. Fixate, but we use it and it wouldn't end up in the landfill.
Man.
Jaron's very much Team Chris here.
No, it's
not
because
CCing Chris about review samples.
What was that?
Not CCing Chris about review samples. Like when something's coming in, I'll just often. I'm trying to break this habit, but I will often just respond to them directly.
No, you got to reply all 100%.
And you know what? I'm gonna be gracious here and say I'm pretty monstrous in that I often forget to CC you guys as well when it comes to like talking to a manufacturer or something like that. So I'm guilty of that too. I admit.
If there's a group on an email chain and everyone is interested in the topic, you hit that reply all button. You are both monsters.
I'm thrilled to say we are halfway through this list. This was entered in June.
Holy crap.
Isn't this crazy?
I say it a lot.
Okay. Not appreciating Chris's attempts at levity. I have no context.
He does try very hard to make situations feel better, and if you don't appreciate it, you are indeed a monster.
Okay.
I think that's all the context you need. Hopefully you're building a picture of our relationship here, and you're trying to understand what's going on here. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Pointing out the existence of a bus station. So this is when we were in Japan. Jaron said like, oh, there's a bus station here. No. Actually, it was me. I said, oh, there's a bus station here. We can take a bus. And I was a monster for suggesting that we take a bus in that moment, I recall.
Oh, yes. Okay. So this was on our last Japanese trip. We had arrived in late, we like flying in, we arrived in late. We're trying to get to Asakusa, to our Airbnb, I believe.
Where there's no train stations.
There's no train stations going to Asakusa. And so, we were going to take George's like, there's the bus. We can take the bus. Was that the context? Because I was like,
and then we decided
it was
to take
frustrating.
a cab.
And we're like, we're taking a cab. And the fact of the matter is Japanese taxis are lovely and they're actually quite affordable. And it got us to Asakusa in like 8 minutes flat, as opposed to like bus and transfer and trying to like, are we going the right direction? And
with context, knowing where that whole situation was and like not knowing where from the bus stop you'd actually get to the place you were going. You hadn't been there yet. I'm with Team Chris here on this one again. Okay. I also don't like taking the bus in Japan.
We got quite a few Japans. Monster was flying around a lot on that trip.
Oh boy.
This one says, no context, directed at Jaron when he was washing his hands. He was called a monster.
Oh my God.
Maybe for taking too long.
I called Jaron a monster for washing his hands?
Yes.
I feel like there has to be some serious context.
Yeah, we're missing something there because with that alone, it's not okay.
It says specifically no context, which means I must have been confused as to the reason for monster in that moment.
It's either you're wrong, Chris, or pass.
Yeah, it says in brackets, no context.
No context. I wonder what I was doing that bothered you so much.
I honestly don't know why. I mean, I'm all for the spreading of communicable diseases, but I don't know. I don't know what it was.
Maybe like shook my hand and I looked at it and then washed my hands. That would have been...
No,
that would have been easy context for me to put in for sure.
Next
I don't think it was okay. Guy, who knows?
Moving along. Not giving Google review for nice costume shop. Or costume shop. I'm sorry, coffee shop.
Okay, there we go. Who did that? Who didn't do that?
Neither Jaron or I gave a Google review to the nice coffee shop we went to.
Oh, the one in Ginza?
Yes. So half of these are just jokes, right? They're like, you guys were talking like, oh, I really love that. That was so good. It was such a great coffee experience. And, and I was like, I'm not a huge coffee. We had the conversation. Like, it was great. It was nice to partake, but I'm like, I would never buy this coffee personally. Like, where's a Tim Hortons or McDonald's? I don't care. But like, yeah, you guys are walking out, you're like, this was so great, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, oh, you guys should do a Google review. Like, no, it's okay. And then I was like, you guys are monsters.
They don't need my help. They have plenty of people in there.
So is that a legitimate one, Jaron?
Oh, probably.
Okay, added. Doing quite well here, Chris.
It actually spurred me to write a Google review of the curry place we went to later. Like
you were guilted into it. Yes,
I was.
Exactly.
You're
also a professional writer.
Okay, next we got one of the rare past tense monsters. Someone was a monster in the past, which was me for being a gate vulture. Before I had gold status at airlines. So a gate vulture is the person who waits around, even though they're zone 4, hovering by the zones 1, 2s, and 3s
terrible.
For the exact second.
Absolutely terrible. No more context needed. Yes, you are a monster.
Now,
get out of the way.
What?
Yes, you can't. Yeah, you can't do that. I mean, in Jordan's
I'm traveling
defense,
with so many lithium batteries. I can't. If they, now every flight, they're like,
they're not
we
going
do
to
not
let
have
you
enough
on
room in the
sooner.
overhead bins for all of your bags. Some of you will be forced to check, and I can't check them because they're full of lithiums.
That's not why. Well, maybe that's where the anxiety. So to give context, okay, this is something I give Jordan a pass on, but just his personality type, he can get very anxious about stuff. He's very punctual, which is a great quality, but it's derived purely from anxiety of missing something or fear. Yeah, exactly. So again, like airport, I'm like, they're not going to leave without us. We're going to get on the airplane. No big deal. Just sit down, relax, take it easy. But he's like, no, they're going to call our zone possibly in 15 to 45 minutes. I must stand there so that I am in time for this.
45.
It's
just sit down.
I mean, it's like just take it easy. They'll call our zone and stuff. But you
can get up one zone ahead.
Yeah, right. Prepare to get in line for
Not too much of a concern right now, but so that is valid. You're saying
valid monster. Yeah. I don't like those people either.
Leaving camera in Super 35 mode directed to me at our A1-2 launch.
Gross. That's not a good idea. You agree, Jordan. You have to agree that was bad.
Well,
yeah, I take the camera for a minute. It's oversampled in Super 35. I passed it back to Chris, and my mistake is you can say which settings transfer between photo and video mode, and I did not put the crop factor into like something that should not transfer between APS-C or photo and video. Yeah.
Look, this is the nature of when we have to pass gear back and forth, right? Like Jordan will shoot some video clips or whatever. It was worse in the past where cameras wouldn't separate the stuff at all. That was a nightmare. But like, look, it's not necessarily Jordan's fault, but I just know every time I get a camera back, it's going to be a nightmare to have to go through like, how many shots have I taken? Luckily I shoot RAW plus JPEG where it's like, why is the light get flat? Oh no, it's still in log. You know what I mean? Like, or it's in like PP12 or some garbage. I don't know.
PP12. That's a good Sony reference. PP12.
Yeah, and you're just like, what happened? And you take like 30 shots and you're like, well, these are pointless. Yeah. Especially if you can't process the RAW in pre-production cameras, that's a real problem. Yeah. So, anyways, look, it's not really Jordan's fault, but yes, I will throw out the occasional monster if I get this back, and I'm like,
is that legit, Jaron?
Yeah, that's legitimate.
Okay, added. This one baffled me.
I have developed this like natural protectionism in me when it comes to our gear and having to swap it back and forth. Where I'm like,
that's why I try and get 2 cameras for you as often as possible.
Yeah, it causes me anxiety because I'm like, what is going to be wrong with this when I get it back?
Z8 was a real problem with that as well.
Yeah.
Okay, this one baffled me, and I need Chris to explain it.
Okay.
Ted Forbes was a monster for putting his hands on the cover of his book.
What?
When we were discussing the book, you're like, the cover, Ted took a picture of his hands like a monster. And I don't understand the thought process behind that. So I'm
like, you're saying his hands are in the picture on the cover?
The cover of the book is like Ted Forbes' hands holding a camera.
Holding a camera, yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Indefensible.
I was baffled.
I don't know why I
Indefensible?
said that.
Okay.
Indefensible. No, you can't.
Because I can't remember the context. I'm sure there's a fantastic reason.
Okay. Everyone who commented on the Nana article.
Oh, yeah. Jeez. It's rough in there. Don't go look at the article for the film Never Die Nana, which we're not going to review, by the way, for reasons I did in a follow-up story. Don't delve into those comments. Never read them.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. There you go. Never read the comments. For real.
So that's a legitimate one?
Yeah.
Okay. Using weapons in Mario Kart.
Weapons? Or like...
Yeah.
The shells?
Like using like shells or like stars. And
it's a major point of the game.
That's a casual. Like, okay, but that's
a
just
terrible
casual
racing game without them.
That's just no. I mean, that's just casual smack talk while you're competing against each other and something.
Invalid.
Okay. Who won though?
Hitting people in the eye with a film canister.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was, did everybody see
you
your abuse?
Right in the eye.
Right in the eyeball. Yeah. My money maker. So yes, that you monster.
Like even when we were like editing the rough, Jeremy was like, "Did he actually hit Chris in the eye with that?" And I'm like,
"Domestic abuse on camera." Yes, it hurt too.
Okay, that is the complete list here. So, out of 25, we've determined that 16 are legitimate. From Jaron. So that seems like a 2/3 ratio basically.
Yeah. Oh, there's way more than that.
That's what you're supposed to call us now. You monsters.
That's the math I did right now. Well, streamlining the list a little on the fly to make sure we had
It was like 20 out of 25. The viewers will watch. They'll know. It's around 16.
Update me with how I got those numbers wrong. Okay, quickly, Jaron and I need to justify our very small amount where we have called people monsters. Are you ready?
Sure.
Okay. I called Chris a monster for listening to comedy with speakers in an airport lounge.
Very low, though. Like up to my ear like this, because I didn't have my headphones.
I don't
lost
like
my headphones. Okay.
Monster.
Yeah, we're going to call that legit?
Yeah, that's legit.
Okay. That is an absolute pet peeve of mine. I lost my mind when we were transferring planes, and on the shuttle, someone was watching TikTok loudly.
With our headphones.
I would drive me crazy. Chris, you were more controlled than that, but still. Firing Rudy.
Yeah. Cannon, you monsters.
I did call them monsters.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's 2 legitimate. This one I'm a little concerned about, frankly. Being a baggage handler.
What?
As a profession, I said baggage handlers are all monsters. Yeah. Which I'm realizing is a blanket statement I try not to make.
Wow.
But,
illegitimate.
Wow.
Okay,
a domestic
so 2
abuser
out of 3.
and a stereotyper. Oh, man.
Okay, we're moving on to Jaron now.
What they do to your
Chris?
bags on the cart can sometimes be pretty rough.
All right, what did I say? I don't remember these.
Some of them. Okay, I take that back. So, Chris, you will be judging Jaron's. There's only 2. I was called a monster for eating breakfast curry.
It's not a breakfast food.
Yeah, but it's his thing. That's his calling card. He likes to eat Japanese style curry for breakfast in Japan. No, you're not a monster for wanting breakfast curry, Jordan.
Oh, thank you, Chris.
It's wonderful. I mean, it is. Why not?
Okay,
if they serve it there, you should.
The last one, I think this is a great one to close it out on. Jaron called you a monster, Chris, for saying that his Japanese garden photos would be much better if they were taken on a smartphone than shot on film.
I didn't hear that. He didn't direct that to me.
I wanted to spring that one on you.
That was a joke.
But if said seriously, am I within my rights here?
No, because I say it because we have our commenters. The context is one of the most popular comments online. Whenever we shoot our cameras, we take all these photos. Someone's always like, would have been better on a smartphone. So yes, I did do that in jest on one of your posts. It was a beautiful photo. What you shouldn't have done is shot it on slide film, you monster.
Oh, it came out great. You take that back.
It was beautiful.
Jaron, is Chris calling you a monster for shooting it on slide film?
Yes, especially when I nailed that exposure.
Beautiful. It was a beautiful shot. It was a beautiful shot.
That's right.
That was as exciting and fun as I hoped it would be. Anyways,
I hope everyone enjoyed that as much.
The question is, do I leave this text document up and running for next year? Do we go through this again, or do we let "you're a monster" lie? What do you guys think?
I mean, I'm going to call you a monster many times.
Oh, I know that's going to happen.
We'll see.
Do I keep cataloging?
In the comments below, if you like this segment, let us know. If we don't hear any comments about it, that means they didn't like the segment, and we can let it go.
Perfect.
But if you comment, would have been better on a smartphone, we will absolutely then keep doing it.
Okay. We have to try and get through some of these because, as I said, I have 27 more beyond what's in this board right now. I know, I suck. I'm sorry. We don't have time to get to all of them. I do my best. I'm going to do some quick, never read the comments. First one is Jordan and I and Chris, all of us, did notice that everyone was complaining about this auto translation feature that we did not turn on, that YouTube was just like, everybody wants this. Everything's so great.
And it's terrible.
And it was awful. And it took us way more time than it should have been to disable it because it was not a simple switch. There was like instructions. Yeah. It's off. You guys, we heard you. We don't want it anymore. This one is a rather somewhat long one from Thomas Anderson 5929. Is Fuji really making a ton of money from their X100 series cameras? I keep seeing it sold out everywhere, which seems like it's the most popular camera on the market, which would suggest its success is that the current market, general consumer, wants a vintage-styled camera with vintage-styled results. In other words, film simulation is really popular. Would this be a fair assessment?
Yes.
Yes.
Reason I ask is because the Fuji X100 cameras seem to be the gold standard for vintage-style cameras, and as badly as OM is doing, their cameras all have physical ingredients of being vintage-looking. The OM5 looks super retro. Could look more retro, but yes. They had the Pan F, which you could argue is even nicer than the Fuji X100.
Gorgeous.
You could argue that. These Micro Four Thirds cameras are about as small, perform very closely to Fuji, especially if you pair them with something like a Panasonic 20mm f1.7 Pancake. They have better IBIS and are cheaper, and most importantly, have interchangeable lenses. But OM system cameras don't have film simulations. The missing ingredient is to make a complete vintage camera with vintage results. If Fuji is as popular as it is, and it sells out as much, what's stopping OM, or really anyone, from releasing one of these cameras, or even re-releasing the Pen F and adding film simulations? Because they don't make film.
I think it's a couple things. Film simulation is a huge part of their success, and that's something they did really well. They marketed the fact that they make their own film emulsions, and so that was a really smart move. Also, I think the original X100 came out at a time, and Fujifilm's APS-C program in general came out at a time when not many other people were even considering doing that, and so I think they started a really huge trend that a lot of other people are getting on board. So I'm sure they've made tons of money off the X100 series and XT3s, XT4s, XT5s, and X Pros. Like they really tapped into a market that was untapped at that time, and good for them. Good for them.
I think the biggest thing is that name. We've seen all these other companies, like Panasonic just did it with their LUTs, and Nikon Creative Styles. Sony does this as well, but they can't say film simulation and put the name of actual film stocks on. That's something only Fujifilm can do right now, and it's the best name for it. And it's super easy for people to understand exactly what it is and what it's doing.
These companies could say film looks, and we can take, like, here's an idea. Just look at what Kino did. None of those things, those LUTs that they're using are actual film things, but they've made logos that look like film for each of those.
Smart.
It's super cool. Nothing, you're right, is stopping for these companies from doing that other than not partnering with Kodak, who will whore their name out for anything, as we covered earlier on T-shirts.
Totally.
You could pay Kodak and put Kodak film in your camera as a simulation, quotes. You could do it.
Konica will license you their logo for $1,000, I'm sure. It'd be a really good deal. I would say as well, like, the X100s are what they are. I would still vastly prefer, as you're saying here, like an OM5, or even more so like a pen or a Panasonic GM camera, because the beauty of Micro Four Thirds is you can get interchangeable lenses that still fit in your pocket, and I think that's a great market. And I really miss my GM5, and I would absolutely buy another camera if it had an EVF on there in a heartbeat.
The next one is actually a comment that is several comments. This is just the one I picked from Kostra Pendarovsky on one of our videos. I think it was gear, our favorite gear. Gear aside, great picks. Jaron, young man, I'm 38. What is that woodpecker hairstyle? Look, here's the thing. I have for years had issues with woodpeckers. Interesting. I guess I could see it. With like trying to make myself look as good as possible on camera, spending a ton of time in the bathroom trying to do it. This time I was like, you know what? I'm just going to try and be casual. You clearly have made it, so I will never be casual again. And in some cases, I'll hide my hair if I have to under a hat, which I'm doing right now. Because all of you guys are very critical.
Monster.
Yeah, it's so mean.
You think this is festive, but when he shows back up on the podcast in January, still wearing a Santa hat because you've scared him off off of exposing his hair, that is all your fault.
I think your bouffant is majestic.
I'm in between hairstyles right now.
That.
I'm actually growing it out more. So like it looks kind of funky right now. Sorry for sharing. The next one is Oliver Steiner 0815. As always,
this blew me away.
Jiren, by the way, who is a villain / hero eventually out of Dragon Ball Super. I appreciate you spelling my name like one of the strongest people.
I was tempted to correct it, but I decided not to.
Yeah, Jiren is one of the strongest characters in the Dragon Ball universe, so I appreciate you spelling my name like that. Canon's fanboy comes through on every occasion. It's a pity and frankly a bit annoying to see that your otherwise great podcast. Bro, I shoot Voigtlander, Nikon. I have a Nikon ZF. I have a Panasonic GH7. The only Canon I'm using is like the original R5 for film scanning and the EOS R for my webcam.
Oh man!
And I didn't even
Canon fanboy.
Yeah,
have you seen the articles with Jaren's byline?
Yeah, I am so hard on Canon, and also this year for like camera of the year, I did not vote R5 1. Chris did. So like
we've had so many conversations on this podcast where you have prefaced the conversation with, I normally love Canon. I've used Canon cameras, but and then you proceed to crap all over them for good reason. So yeah, I don't agree.
The reason I put this in here is essentially like if you have at any point anything positive to say about any camera brand, suddenly you're fanboying and you just can't be taken seriously. Get out of here. I'm going to air my grievances.
Yeah, this is great. This is in keeping with the theme of the episode.
Jeez. All right, we're going to move on to tech support.
Okay.
This is an email from Rob from Boulder, Colorado. Hi, guys. Love your podcast. It's the only podcast I have to listen to every week.
Appreciate it.
Okay, I don't know if he's saying he has to listen to it or that he has in his possession.
It's mandated, yes.
He's addicted.
His employer or spouse.
He has a deep addiction.
I have a question about lenses. Why are manufacturers so obsessed with making fast lenses? Not everybody needs or wants them. I think Chris is going to nod vigorously to this. I am primarily a landscape photographer that likes hiking and traveling to interesting places, so my preference is to have light, general-purpose zoom lenses. I currently have a Canon R6 with an RF 24-105L, but that lens is big and heavy, and also not actually that fast. I generally don't need a fast lens, as I'm always stopping down to some extent, too. But I do want relatively compact, high quality, and sharp, and I want them to be as light as possible. Surely there is a significant size group out there with similar needs. One of you even said on the latest podcast from Japan that you like light lenses for travel. But the OEMs seem to focus on making every lens as fast as possible, and then when they make a lighter or slower lens, it's something very basic, like an RF 24-50. My ideal lens would be something like an L series 24-50 f4. I think there might be a market for this type of lens among landscape and travel photographers. What do you think, Rob from Boulder?
I mean, yeah, I agree with you, Rob. I mean, slower lenses have their place. Jordan definitely loves that sort of wide to normal more than I do. I would absolutely go with still something like a 24-105 or 24-120 f4, where I feel like I'm getting the range, and the f4 aperture means that I don't have to have a huge lens, although I understand it would be physically bigger than a 24-50. And for landscape, you're right. I mean, I've said this quite often, where unless you're doing astrophotography, if I'm going to shoot landscape, why do I need a 2.8 lens or a 1.4 lens? Like most situations, I'm going to be shooting f8, f11 anyways. And so I don't think it's totally unheard of, but it's certainly a limited market. And that's why the manufacturers don't make them as often. But these formulas have existed for sure. For sure.
It's funny because I saw this after I'd already put together my grievances for this year, and one of them was a lack of compact, slower professional lenses from all of the camera manufacturers, which I then struck once I saw this message, because I totally agree. And I think about like some of my favorite lenses, like the Sigma Contemporary series, where the focus is on actually professional build quality, extremely sharp, but slower apertures. That's the trade-off for it. And I just wonder if they're not selling great, because we haven't really seen many other people jumping on this. But then we see something like the Sigma 500 5.6, and I'm like, yes, more of this truly professional lenses that might be slow and compact. So I'd love to see that going forward, but we're not.
One of my favorite lenses. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, go ahead. Oh, I actually like slower lenses when it comes to primes as well. Like I like really compact f2 primes, for example.
So on that note, my favorite lens right now is Nikon's really old 105 f2.5. I love that lens. And it's compact with a great throw, and 2.5 is plenty. So
And they make an old school 1.8 and it's huge. Yeah. And
I'll take the 2.5.
It's not that great. Yeah, the 2.5 is fantastic. Anyways, we agree with you, Rob.
Yeah.
I've been shouting the praise of that OM 75 millimeter f1.8 for the same reason. If someone made 150 millimeter f3.5 for full frame that was like pro and sharp edge to edge, I'd be like, hell yes, I want that in my bag all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, more please. All right, this next one is a speak pipe from Logan.
Hey guys, how's it going? So,
Great.
In the past, you have spoken about how none of the camera companies have been putting out bridge cameras lately. So I was just curious today, and I Googled when was the last time a camera company released a bridge camera. And it turns out Panasonic released one this year, the FZ80D. And this surprised me because I had heard nothing about this camera. I didn't see any announcement on Panasonic's social media. I didn't see any reviews on YouTube. It kind of seems like they just released it quietly and didn't tell anyone about it. So I have two questions. One, why were there hardly any reviews on this camera? Is it because it's designed for a more niche audience? Or did Panasonic just not really send out many copies for review? I'm just kind of curious why I didn't see anything about this. And two, this camera kind of seems like a weird decision from Panasonic. Like, it's the first bridge camera released in 4 years. And it just kind of seems very underwhelming, especially when Panasonic's been putting out some pretty good new modern cameras lately. So I'm just curious if you know much about this camera. Do you think this is the start of the industry revisiting bridge cameras? I hope it is. Or is this just a random one-off decision that Panasonic made? Okay, thank you. You guys are the best. I wish you all the happiness. And
Oh, you're the best.
It's very nice.
So FZ80D, that was on July 2nd, 2024. PetaPixel did cover it. Before you guys answer this, I will point out that D keeps showing up. We got an S5D also this year and a G100D. And it's a little interesting that the two cameras that were announced this week were actually not Ds because they have all something in common.
USB-C.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
minor
it's
upgrades
just to comply with the European Union rules. Yeah, about USB-C on everything.
Yeah,
which is a nice thing. I've said I still think there's room for bridge cameras out there. If you need telephoto reach, your phone can't do it. There is still, for outdoor sports and things like that. It does make sense for some people, but yeah, there's not a huge demand. I just want to see Panasonic use their latest tech. If they bring out an FZ1000 Mark II, where they've got a Type 1 sensor with their new phase detect autofocus and all the stuff they've been working on, I think that would do really well. I think if Sony brought out an RX10 Mark V with their new autofocus and all their new stuff, that would do really well. But that would require R&D and more than just plugging a USB-C port onto stuff.
Yeah.
There's no... to really directly answer your question, Logan, this camera is not new. That's why it didn't get any coverage. Yeah. It didn't get reviewed. It's the same camera. It's just got a slightly better EVF and a slightly better LCD and USB-C. That's why. It's not a new camera.
Yeah.
That's literally the only reason it didn't get any coverage. All right, next one is Chris from New Brunswick. It's an email. I was lying in bed this morning having my coffee and the thought came to me, why not a native black and white sensor in a smartphone? I think they're already being made for industrial use, and when you consider the millions of cell phones being sold around the world, would probably be financially viable. I believe Chris sent a couple of follow-ups and said, oh, wait, there have been a couple instances of this in China, but they haven't really made their way east. Yeah, there have been some, like from the Xiaomi's or the Huawei's that have done this, usually in tandem with Leica, to do like a Leica black and white. But yeah, thoughts, Chris?
I mean, this is going to seem out of character, but I don't know that I would want that, to be honest. I get, though, that obviously there's benefits to having a black and white sensor image quality-wise. I don't know that you would necessarily reap those benefits with a smartphone where you're combining so many images anyways. So then it would be purely stylistic. And I mean, yeah, I guess go for it. But I don't know. For me, the whole point of a smartphone is convenience. And so I'd want the convenience of being able to choose to shoot color or black and white, which I can now. So, yeah, I don't know. It's weird. I know for me, you'd think I'd be all over it, but I'm actually not. When it comes to black and white specific art cameras, photographic cameras, I I'm all for it. I think it's a great idea. I wish more companies would do it. Like, so
the big thing here is
Fujifilm should have made a black and white only monochrome camera by now with their black and white Fujifilm simulations. Market like 3 or 4 of their black and white films. That would be awesome. I'd be all over that.
See, I think the big thing there is we use our photo cameras to make art primarily, where we use our smartphone cameras a lot of the time to remember where we parked. And more we're seeing like all of the AI stuff is like just use your camera on your phone and we'll tell you what you're looking at, all kinds of stuff. It wants color information to do that. A black and white sensor would be a huge drawback. So the only way this would make sense is if they had a full array of color ones and then they had a separate black and white camera and lens. That could be cool. But I don't think you'll ever see your main camera as a black and white on a, photo-centric smartphone.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm
going to try and get through as many of these as possible. So we're going through David next. This is a speak pipe.
Hey, Chris, Jaron, and Jordan. I'm David out of Phoenix, Arizona. Love watching everything you guys do. Been watching Chris and Jordan since the camera store days. Anyway, let me get to the point. I've been looking for a compact camera for my everyday travels. Currently a Nikon shooter. I have a Z7 II and a Z8. Ton of gear with them, but it's just not feasible to take those with me on the daily. I used to have a Lumix G85, which I loved, and I sold it about a year ago, and I've missed it every single day since I've sold it. So I'd keep it in my car and bring it literally everywhere I went. Now I'm looking at the brand new Fujifilm XM5. Of course, since I'm already a Nikon shooter, I've been thinking about the ZFC, but it's a bit bigger. Portability is really the key. I'd be doing mostly street and scene photos, and any video content it'd be strictly for social media purposes. I'm open to other cameras as well. I'd just love to hear what you guys think. Thanks.
I mean, they do have a brand new camera that takes the place of that.
I was going to say, you want a USB-C port?
Yeah, you can go ahead and get a G97. It comes with a camera, a lens. You can't even buy that without a lens attached to it. So that's an option.
I'd want an EVF.
Well, the G97 has an EVF.
Yeah. Compact micro four thirds cameras, I think, would be perfect for this purpose right now. I think people would really appreciate them nowadays. The technology's gotten better. I think it could be a rebirth, and I really think that someone should make that. And yeah, the G85 is a great little camera, more of an SLR design, but still compact. GX85 though, like that'd be nice. Why don't they bring that stuff back? I don't know. You have no choice. I don't know what you could do. ZFC is still kind of bulky. ZFC is not bad. We just need like appropriately sized lenses for it. That would really help out. Yeah. So a ZFC with appropriately sized lenses would help out, but we don't have that.
Sigma Contemporary Primes, all up in this B.
Yeah.
Are those on Z? I can't remember.
I'm just going to
I think it's just the zooms right now, but I would love to see all the...
There's got to be a reason for that, and it's not Sigma.
Yeah.
Like a classic Canon M series, I would love that, but they're expensive. Like even used now, I think they're really pricey. And again, no EVF. It's just really annoying. But something like that would be really nice. A Canon APS-C body, like made for all these companies have the opportunity to make something really cool, and they're just not doing it. Yeah. And the Fujifilm XM5, if it had an EVF, would be very close because it's physically gorgeous.
All right. This one is an email from John McDonald. Hey, PetaPixel pals. Long-time listener, viewer, reader here. As we enter the colder months of the year, I'm curious as to what your favorite jackets, gloves, and other cold weather accessories are that don't hold you back from being able to operate your gear. I've seen Chris in some stylish gloves and jackets, so I'm hoping to cop his style a bit. Your podcast is the only one I have automatically added to the top of my queue. It's the highlight of my commute every week. Keep up the amazing work. Thank you very much. P.S. Every time I watch the show on the living room TV, one of like the very small number that actually watch the show on TV. My wife tunes in because she recently got an X-T30 Mark II, and every time she mentions how handsome Chris is, hopefully some gray in my beard will help me out.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm all for gray in the beard. Big fan of gray in the beard. Jordan, you should grow back the gray in your beard. Anyways, I appreciate your wife. Thank you. I appreciate you too, John. Jordan and I have been rocking that Hochland stuff a lot. They make like a black puffy coat that's actually incredibly warm, but it doesn't feel like a full winter parka. And then you have the winter parka you can put over it, which in extreme weather is very useful. But that's been good down to like -10, -15. I still have not found...
Pockets are great.
Yeah, pockets are great. I still have not found a pair of gloves that I like. Even the thin gloves, like I have this pair. I'm not going to say they're no name, but I don't remember the name. Like, I don't know. My mom bought them for me. They're like a thin glove, but they've got the smartphone fingers. But I still don't like the ergonomics using even thin gloves like that on a camera. It's just not very comfortable. So I don't know what to do. When we're fishing in the wintertime, we just wear like the black plastic, like garage gloves, like for working on your car, like the thin plastic, but that's just to keep the water off. I don't know that they would warm your skin that much. But yeah, I don't know, like maybe a heated glove option. But
Hochland has some gloves, but they're okay. I'm not in love with them.
They have an inner. I've tried them.
Yeah,
but
they have an inner with a mitt. I don't love those. The Heat 3 gloves are still my absolute favorite out there.
Heat 3?
Yeah, so
what
they were designed originally for which country's special forces, Chris?
I think it was Swiss.
We did a full video on it.
It was either Switzerland or Austria.
Austrian special forces. And
cool.
I'm still using them. They've changed the design because mine, you can't remove the inner glove, but I have actually used the new design as well, and I really like those. Those are the best little finger gloves I've found, and the outer mitts are stupid warm. So I've been using those for over a decade now.
Yeah, give perspective, it is a very thin inner glove, like the fingers, like it's very soft, very thin. So it doesn't give you that much warming. Obviously, it's better than exposed skin. Yeah. But
it's quick to flip in and out. So I can adjust camera settings, and then I flip back the heated side. I put a hand warmer in that, and that gets me through. That's been my best.
A lot of the crew. A lot of the crew, when they were shooting the Revenant here in Alberta, swore by those. They saved their fingers, but it's still there's no good glove that I would put on and just use all the time. Yeah. I often find I'm still ripping it off even in the wintertime to get controls adjusted quicker and then sticking it back on, which kind of defeats the purpose. So I don't know. Maybe I'll just try nitrile gloves, like just tight nitrile gloves and see if they help at all. But then everybody's going to think I'm going around giving like prostate exams out in the woods or something. It'd be very strange. I don't know.
All right.
Which I do.
We weren't going to be able to avoid that.
We have time for one more. I apologize. Someone asked us a question because they were going on safari in November and we're so late. So I'm very sorry about that.
It doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah, it does not matter. You had to make your decision. And I hope it was a good one. Next, the last one we have time for this year is a speak pipe from Leonard Lipton.
So let's see. Tamron has come out with a 50-400 f4.5 to 6.3 for the Nikon Z mount. Are you possibly going to review that lens at some point? Thanks. I watch you guys all the time.
We appreciate that, Leonard. Are we?
So we had to get selectives with the Tamron lenses. We made a decision that we were going to look at the 28-300 and the 90 mil in the back half of this year. I thought those were the two most exciting optics that they brought. And the 50-400, we didn't review, unfortunately.
Do you want to?
Yes,
I'm torn. It's been a lot of slow tellies this year.
Yeah. And again, it always comes down to the thing where it's like we're only human, except Jordan's a monster. But it's like you can only do so much. And so it's fun. We have to be selective. Sometimes things fall through the cracks, unfortunately. And
we'll see how next year goes.
Yeah. We'd love to play with more Tamron stuff.
We tend to think that there's going to be points of lull where we can go back and do stuff like that. But 2024 in particular was just a roller coaster train ride.
It really was.
Stallion the whole time. We didn't have any breaks. It was super rough. So
yeah, well, and now that we're committed to doing a few new brands of lenses as well, that's also
that's going to be even tougher. Which is why we skipped them in the past. It wasn't because we didn't like them. It's because we're like, oh, we got no time. Yeah. But hey, all this grievance and sadness and depression, we're going to end on a happy note, right?
Yeah, we are. This year's final feel good story is A is for Aperture, the ABCs of photography. It's a cute little educational kids book written by Todd Vorenkamp. Todd used to actually write some of the blogs for the B&H Explorer. He no longer does that and started working on this project instead. Really cool dude. I actually have been talking to him for several months about his book that he was coming up with, and he finally finished it. You can get it now. It is super cute. I think if you're a photographer dad or a photographer mom, this is kind of a cute way to share your hobby with your kids.
With young kids.
Yeah, this is like early book. You love kids? Is that what you said, Jordan?
I got kids. I'm a dad, Jaron. I don't know. Have I been throwing out the dad energy? Have I been keeping it top secret? But people might not know.
Super
I'm a dad.
Yes, got it.
I love kids. Yeah.
It's $15 for paperback, $5 for a Kindle. You can
it's a
check
beautiful
it out
little book. Yeah.
It looks super cute.
Yeah,
So,
it looks cute. Very nice.
There you
Happiness.
go.
Happiness.
Very nice. Well, thanks everyone for joining us in 2024 for season 3 of the PetaPixel podcast. I want to point out that this is episode 75. We've done 75 of these.
Crazy.
It's gone by like very quickly, just like life. And
summertime next year, it's going to be our 100th episode. It's going to be pretty awesome. But we appreciate you guys all following us. And obviously, a lot of people are making this a regular thing, which we love to hear. So thank you. I'm glad we're bringing joy not only to all the viewers, but also John McDonald's wife. I do my best. And
she's the only one who gets a personalized shout out.
Oh man. And thank you to you guys, Jaron and Jordan, for being my monsters throughout this whole thing. I appreciate that too.
You're welcome.
And everybody have a great Christmas and a great holiday season.
Happy holidays, Merry Christmas. We'll see you in January. The next episode is scheduled for January 8th. We'll see you then. Thanks to our sponsors, OM System and Excire Photo.
You're right. We should thank them. Jaron, January 8th, he's going to have like 4 new PG-sized Gundams all across his back display. You'll see. That's all he's going to do this whole holiday.
That's true. That's right. Bye. Bye, everyone.
Bye.